Good morning. How is everybody? David, how are you? Hi. Stand up. Graham is having his 95th birthday this week. Happy birthday to you. And Tufty, when's your birthday? When's your birthday, Phoebe?
Next November.
Next November. How old will you be?
96.
96? Got a few months on him. Well, if you're interested in a younger man, Graham could probably be your boy toy. Oh, welcome everybody, welcome everybody. If you're new here to Unity, we have a very interesting program where all of humanity right now is at this gap. They're at this, broaching this interface between religion and spirituality. And although they're related to a certain degree, spirituality is like the evolution of what religion has been marching towards for thousands of years. And quite simply, with religion, it looks outside of itself and determines rules and regulations for people to follow, and it has a hierarchy with dictates for people to follow. Spirituality does exactly the opposite. It turns the person around to look inside. What do I have within me to help me negotiate myself through life in a very harmonious way? The first principle of spirituality is that there is one presence, there is one power, there is one spirit, there is one energy everywhere present in the universe, and that is spirit, and that spirit is within you, and that spirit has provided life everything it needed for the last 4.5 million years to progress and evolve to the stage that we're in now. It's all providing. It gives you every single thing you need. It gives every living thing everything it needs to live a comfortable and fulfilling life. We have that within us. That's our inherent liberty to be able to fall back on that or to draw upon it. Now, the problem that exists with we as human beings is that sometimes we forget that. We forget that we have this spirit within us. We forget that we are connected through that spirit. We forget that we are all of one life dynamic. There's not two different types of life. There's one type of life in the universe, and that's the DNA-based life. But we forget that. We forget that we got this tremendous power within us to move forward and overcome anything that might hamper our peace of mind or our sense of well-being. And when we forget this, that is when fears and anxieties and doubts and all sorts of different pain and suffering begins to arise within us and occupy our thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and perceptions. Life becomes very, very uncomfortable when we forget that we are connected to this spirit. Now, the great benefit that we have is that we can recall, we can remember, we can go back to that center point and say, I do have this spirit within me. That then relieves much of the anxiety and the doubts and the suffering that we have. Now, it's very much the same thing with the earth. We are connected to the earth. It is a part of us. We are an extension of it. And sometimes we forget that. And when we forget that, maneuvering our way through life or negotiating ourselves around the earth or finding how we fit in to life on earth can become very, very difficult. It becomes a struggle. It can become a wrestling match as we're trying to find out how to go from where we're at to where we want to be. So with that in mind, I pose a question to you, to all of us collectively, and that is, where did we come from? Now, the natural response to that question would be, well, we came from our parents. And then where did our parents come from? Well, they came from their parents. And their parents came from the parents before them. So if we trace this back, we trace our heritage back to the very beginning, we see very clearly that we all came forth from the earth. We weren't planted here by some alien mission. The earth gave birth to us. Everything that you see around you came forth from the earth. The chairs that you're sitting on, the floor that I'm standing on, the lectern, everything came forth from the earth. Now, the earth was born 4.5 billion years ago, and it had a very dramatic entry. A giant star exploded someplace out in space. The Earth was one little bit of that giant star. It was propelled outward through the universe. In the first couple of years, or the first couple of billion years of the Earth's existence, was a little bit difficult, because for 2 billion years it was pummeled with asteroids and comets and other debris in space, and it kept pounding it and pounding it and pounding it. And one collision was so great that it knocked off a big chunk of the Earth, and that chunk became our moon. And the Earth, just like a mother, extended its gravitational pull to that chunk that based off to keep the moon at a certain place. Now, although the collisions might seem misfortunate, there was 3 great benefits that came out of it. First of all, the comets and the asteroids were basically big chunks of ice. And the Earth at that point was a core of lead surrounded by this fiery molten lava. So when the comets and the asteroids hit the Earth, the icy debris cooled the Earth down, necessary for life to come forward at some point. The second thing is that the comets and the asteroids condensed into clouds, which then for billions of years rained down oceans and rivers and streams and lakes, giving water, essential for life. And the third thing was that knocking off that chunk that became our moon, the Earth not only had its gravitational pull to keep the moon close at bay, but the moon also had an effect on the Earth which stabilized its rotation. And its rotation was in this third ring around the sun that provided exactly the right temperature for life to survive. If the Earth would have been any further out, there'd be no life on this planet. If it was any further in, there'd be no life on this planet. It had to be absolutely perfect, and that perfect rotation came about as a result of the relationship between the moon and the Earth. Now, the moon, or the Earth and the sun developed this very intimate relationship. And the Earth rotated around the sun, almost like swooning around it. The sun bathed it in rays. The Earth, very much like a sun bather, rotated on its axis so every part of it could capture the sun. And when that sun hit the waters of the Earth, between the chemicals and the sun rays, carbon dioxide was created, essential for plant life. A combination of the chemicals in the water and the sun rays. Plants need carbon dioxide in order to live. Plants also exhale oxygen, which is what we need to live. So all the green that you see around you, they are exhaling oxygen. We breathe it in. We breathe out carbon dioxide, which the plant needs. So there's this wonderful back and forth giving of life, taking of life, giving of life, taking of life between us and all of the green on the planet. Now, so the plants, they provided oxygen, which allowed to evolve into higher expressions of life. And it continued on, and it continued on, and it continued on until here we are today, sitting here. But I just want you for a minute just to think of how magical that is, that all of those things had to take place, that everything had to be divinely ordered, it had to be perfectly designed, it had to be quantified in a certain way for everything to happen the way it did. It's just absolutely majestical. Now, if we go far out into space and we look back on the Earth, it seems very insignificant. It seems like it has nothing of value. It is more or less just like a dust speck floating in a sunbeam. But then we move in for closer observation, and what we see is the Earth, as far as we know, anywhere in the universe, is the only place that bursts out with different colors. You know, the reds and greens and purples and oranges through its flowers and through its sunsets and through the trees and the foliage. It's the only place that has that. The earth is the only place that has its fresh water and its oceans, its streams, and its lakes and its rivers. The only place in the universe that we know. The earth is designed to the point where it is so perfect that if carbon dioxide was less or more than 0.03% of our atmosphere, there'd be no life on earth. If gravity varied by 1 degree, there'd be no life on earth. If water didn't freeze at exactly 32 degrees Fahrenheit, there'd be no life on earth. Everything had to be perfectly designed to provide us with this home in a universe that is made up of balls of fire and other quite boring stone and sand planets. It is only here that we find this incredible garden, so to speak, of richness, not only in human form and in other animal forms, but in life form as well. The earth has this diversity that is almost miraculous, or it is miraculous, in that every single life form that it has brought forth is different from any other life form. There's not a single one of us in here that is exactly alike. We are all different. We have this diverse nature brought forth by the earth. And my whole point in saying this is because I personally take the life for granted. I'll get up, I'll go out into my car, I'll fight the traffic, I'll grumble about this, I'll grumble about that, and very seldom do I stop to look at a tree and say, thank you, tree, for giving me the oxygen I need to breathe. I walked in my office today, and Geneva was standing there looking out the window, and there's all sorts of these, some sort of blossoms that are coming out, big, huge white balls. And she was just standing there mesmerized by them, at how beautiful they were. They'd been there all the week. I hadn't noticed them. When I was typing this, the talk up yesterday or Friday, I was on my computer, and I was really being drawn into the incredible diversity on Earth and how special everything is. And a little tiny, about the grain of salt, a little tiny red bug crawled across my screen. Now, normally I would have swatted it away, but instead I took like 10 minutes just to watch it. And pretty soon I took my mouse and kind of put it behind it to prod it along a little bit. It had no idea what was going on, but it kind of became a game that I was helping it crawl up the screen. Yeah, I guess you had to be there. But anyway, the point I am saying is that we have been so blessed by being given this residence to live on, and all it really requires of us is 2 things. It is just like kids at home. We are required of 2 things, and that is to, first of all, help maintain the home, help take care of it, help keep it clean as good stewards. And the second thing is just get along. Get along with all of other Mother Earth's children. Get along, take care of the earth. Get along, take care of the earth. That's all we have to do. And I think us in this room, by raising our consciousness to that point, as individually, that's what I'm going to do. I am going to assist in maintaining the earth, whether it's picking up a piece of litter, using better green products for my home and at work, and taking care of the trees and the flowers. That is my part, and I can do that, and it improves the health of the earth. The other part is get along, and I know that's difficult sometimes. We not only have arguments within our friends and family, but we have huge battles between countries and nations. And for us to hold prayerful, a peaceful state of earth is something else that each of us can do individually. It all gets down to, this is the earth's birthday. It's a time when we reflect on it, we celebrate it, we give thanks for it. But at the same time, it's let's carry this forward and every single day reflect on something that we are being benefited by as a result of being able to live here on this planet. As we move into meditation, I want you to think about this. You have 3 different states of your existence. You have your mental emotional state, you have your physical state, and you have your spiritual state. And most of us labor somewhat fervently to try to keep those 3 states in a place of well-being. We want to be mentally and emotionally well, we want to be physically well, we want to be spiritually well. Well, the earth has that same thing. It's a living organism. And for its mental and emotional wellness, it needs us as the higher level of consciousness to create that wellness. as its physical wellness, its biological wellness, it needs us to help maintain and care for the environment. And for its spiritual wellness, it needs a collective consciousness, which is every person on this earth, a collective consciousness to envelop it and create a sense of connectedness or a sense of unity here on this earth. So that's the vision. And we have everything we need. We have all the potential there is to create that and to be able to hand over to generations to come a planet and a civilization that is better than the ones that preceded us. So as we go into meditation, you just, for a moment, focus on your part, how you are connected to this earth, how you came forth from it, how it is your mother, it is your home, and it is your residence. We bless it and we give thanks for it. We'll now move into meditation.